A Mafia boss steps into his car after a brutal meeting. A stranger's voice snaps from the shadows. "Shut up, you'll wake him," he freezes. Sitting in the darkness is a woman holding a sleeping child. What he doesn't know, this woman just risked everything to bring him something he thought he'd lost forever. And now, neither of them can walk away. Adrian Cole's knuckles were still streaked with blood when he slid into the back seat of his black Mercedes. The meeting had gone exactly as he'd planned, messy, brutal, and final. 3 rival gang members wouldn't be making threats against his territory anymore. He exhaled slowly, the adrenaline beginning to fade as his driver, Marcus, pulled away from the warehouse district. "Take me home," Adrian said, reaching for the whiskey bottle he kept in the side compartment. "I need a shower and—" "Shut up." Adrian froze, his hand halfway to the bottle. The voice was female, sharp, and came from the shadows beside him. "You'll wake him." His head snapped to the right. In the darkness of the backseat's corner, a woman sat pressed against the door, her arms wrapped protectively around something. No, someone. A small body. A child. Adrian's hand moved instinctively to the gun at his hip. "Marcus, what the hell?" "I said shut up," the woman hissed, her voice cracking with desperation. "Please." He just fell asleep. He hasn't slept in days. Marcus's eyes were wide in the rearview mirror, his hands tight on the wheel. "Boss, I swear to God. She wasn't there when I parked. I checked the car twice." "Keep driving," Adrian said coldly, his gun now pointed at the woman. "You have 10 seconds to tell me who you are and why you're in my car before I put a bullet in your head." The woman didn't flinch. Instead, she shifted slightly, and the streetlights streaming through the window illuminated her face. Young, maybe 25, with dark circles under her eyes and a split lip that looked a few days old. But it was the boy in her arms that made Adrian's world tilt sideways. Dark hair, pale skin, a small birthmark on his left cheek. Adrian's gun hand began to shake. "No," he whispered. The boy was maybe 5 or 6 years old, dressed in clothes that were too big for him, his face peaceful in sleep. And that birthmark, God, that birthmark, was identical to the one Adrian had kissed 1,000 times before his son had been ripped away from him. 3 years ago, Adrian's world had shattered. His wife had died in childbirth, and then, 6 months later, his infant son had been taken from his nursery in the middle of the night. The ransom call never came. No demands. No trace. Just gone. After 8 months of searching, Adrian's men had found a child's body in the river, too decomposed to identify perfectly, but the dental records matched. Or so they'd said. He'd buried his son. He'd mourned. He'd become something darker, colder, more ruthless than he'd ever been before. And now this ghost sat sleeping in his car. "Who are you?" Adrian's voice was barely audible. "My name is Elena Moretti," the woman said, her arms tightening around the boy. "And this is your son, Adrian. His name is Luca. He's been alive this whole time." The gun slipped from Adrian's fingers, clattering to the floor. "That's impossible," he said, but even as he spoke, he couldn't tear his eyes away from the child. The boy's chest rose and fell steadily, his small hand clutching the fabric of Elena's jacket. "I buried him. I saw the body." "You saw what they wanted you to see," Elena said. Her voice was steadier now, but Adrian could see her hands trembling. "They faked it. Made you think he was dead, so you'd stop looking." "Who?" Adrian's voice turned to ice. "Who took him?" Elena hesitated, her eyes darting to Marcus in the front seat. "Not here," she said quietly. "Too many ears. Too many people who can't be trusted. But I'll tell you everything. I swear. Just, please don't hurt him. He's been through enough." Adrian's mind was racing. This could be a trap. An elaborate scheme by his enemies to destroy him from the inside out. The boy could be anyone, a look-alike, a plant, a weapon designed to make him vulnerable. But that birthmark, that face, the way the child's hair curled at the temples, exactly like his own. "Marcus," Adrian said, his voice hollow. Take us to the estate. The north entrance. No one sees us arrive. Boss.
Now.
The car accelerated, weaving through the Chicago streets. Adrian couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He just stared at the sleeping boy, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. Elena watched him carefully. He doesn't remember you, she said softly. Not yet. They kept him locked up, away from everything. He's scared of loud noises. Scared of men. It took me 2 weeks just to get him to stop crying when I touched him. How did you find him? Adrian's voice cracked. How did you get him out? I was there, Elena said simply. I was with the people who kept him. Adrian's head snapped toward her, rage flooding through him like gasoline on fire. You were part of this.
No. Yes.
Elena's composure finally broke. Tears streamed down her face. My boyfriend. My ex-boyfriend. He was one of them. I didn't know what they were doing at first. I thought it was just God. I was so stupid. By the time I realized they had a kid locked in the basement, it was too late. I was already in too deep. So you're a kidnapper, Adrian said flatly. No, Elena said fiercely. I'm the woman who risked her life to get him out. I'm the woman who killed one of them to escape. I'm the woman who's been running for 2 days straight with no food, no sleep, and no plan except to get this boy back to his father. She leaned forward, her eyes blazing. You can hate me. You can kill me. I don't care. But he's yours, Adrian. And he needs you. The car pulled through the iron gates of Adrian's estate, the sprawling mansion rising like a fortress against the night sky. As they stopped at the private entrance, the boy stirred, his eyes fluttering open. Elena, he whispered, his voice small and frightened. I'm here, sweetheart, she murmured, brushing his hair back. We're safe now. Then the boy's eyes found Adrian's face, and he went rigid with fear. It's okay, Elena said quickly. Luca, this is someone who's going to help us. He won't hurt you. But the boy just stared at Adrian with wide, terrified eyes, and Adrian felt something inside him crack open. His son was alive. And his son was afraid of him. Adrian carried his son into the estate himself, despite the boy's whimpering protests. Elena followed close behind, her eyes scanning every shadow like a hunted animal. Once inside the private wing, a section of the mansion where only Adrian and his most trusted men could enter, he laid Luca gently on the leather couch in his study. The boy immediately curled into a ball, his eyes squeezed shut. Get him water, Adrian said to Elena, his voice hoarse. And food. Whatever he'll eat. Elena nodded and disappeared into the adjoining room. Adrian stood frozen, staring at the trembling child. He wanted to reach out to touch him, to confirm this wasn't some cruel hallucination. But the fear in Luca's eyes stopped him cold. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Boss, what do you want me to? Leave, Adrian said. Lock the doors. No one comes in. No 1 inch. But get out. When Marcus was gone, Adrian poured himself a drink with shaking hands. Whiskey sloshed over the rim of the glass. He downed it in one burning gulp, then poured another. Elena returned with a tray, crackers, cheese, apple slices, and a juice box. She knelt beside the couch, her movements slow and careful. Luca, honey, she whispered. You must be hungry. The boy's eyes opened slightly. When he saw the food, something shifted in his expression, desperate hunger winning over fear. He grabbed a cracker and shoved it in his mouth, then another, eating like he hadn't seen food in days. Because he probably hadn't. Adrian's grip tightened on his glass until it cracked. Tell me everything, he said, his voice deadly calm. Right now. Who took him? Where was he? And how the hell did you get him out? Elena sat on the floor, her back against the couch. She looked exhausted, like she might collapse at any moment. His name is Vincent Russo, she began. My ex-boyfriend. We met 2 years ago at a bar in Brooklyn. I thought he was just a small-time dealer. I was stupid and desperate for someone to care about me. She laughed bitterly. Turns out he worked for the Castellano family. Adrian's blood when ice cold. The Castellanos, his oldest rivals. They'd been trying to push into his Chicago territory for years, and he'd beaten them back every time. Vincent and 3 other men were keeping Luca in a house outside Naperville. Elena continued. I didn't even know there was a kid there for the first 6 months. They kept him in the basement, locked up. Drugged half the time to keep him quiet. Adrian's hands were shaking.
Why?
What did they want? Control, Elena said simply. They wanted you weak.
Distracted.
They knew if they just killed him, you'd go to war. But if they made you think he was already dead, you'd mourn. You'd move on. You'd never know they had leverage over you. What leverage? He was supposed to be dead. Elena looked up at him, and in her eyes, Adrian saw pity. They were going to wait until you were at your strongest, she said quietly. Wait until you'd built your empire even bigger. And then they'd reveal he was alive. They'd send you photos, videos, proof. And they'd tell you that if you didn't hand over everything, every territory, every business, every dollar, they'd send him back to you in pieces. Adrian's glass shattered in his hand. Blood dripped from his palm, but he didn't feel it. They were going to use him as a weapon, he whispered. Yes. And the body I buried. Elena hesitated. A street kid. Same age, same build. They paid someone to make it unrecognizable. And then they paid someone on your side to confirm the dental records matched. Adrian's world tilted. What did you just say? Someone in your organization helped them? Elena said, her voice barely audible. Someone you trust. They fed you false information. Made you believe your son was dead, so you'd stop searching. For the first time in 15 years, Adrian Cole, the man who'd stared down gun barrels and walked away from explosions, felt genuine fear. Who? He demanded. Give me a name. I don't know, Elena said desperately. Vincent never told me. He just bragged about it once when he was drunk. Said they had someone on the inside. Someone close to you. That's how they knew when to take Luca in the first place. That's how they knew your security schedules, your movements, everything. Adrian's mind raced through the possibilities. His inner circle was small. Marcus, his driver for 8 years. Tommy, his second in command. Frank, his head of security. Karen, his accountant. David, his lawyer. One of them had betrayed him, had let his son be stolen, had helped fake a child's death. How did you get him out? Adrian asked, his voice hollow. Elena's hand went to her jacket, and she pulled out a gun. Adrian's men should have searched her, but in the chaos, they hadn't. She set it on the floor between them. I shot Vincent 3 days ago, she said flatly. We were alone in the house. He was high, careless. I took his gun, and I shot him twice in the chest. Then I grabbed Luca and ran. The other men, they'll be looking for us. For me. They'll want revenge, and they'll want the boy back. Why did you do it? Adrian asked. Why risk your life for a child you don't even know? Elena's eyes filled with tears. Because I heard him crying at night, she whispered. For 3 months, I heard him crying for his mama, calling out for someone named Papa. And I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I couldn't be part of it anymore. She wiped her face roughly. Vincent caught me trying to call the police once. He beat me so badly I couldn't walk for a week. Told me if I ever tried again, he'd kill me and make Luca watch. So I waited. I planned. And when I got my chance, I took it. Adrian studied her, this broken, desperate woman who'd killed her boyfriend to save a stranger's child. You could have just run, he said. You could have disappeared and left him there? Elena's voice cracked. He's just a baby. He doesn't deserve any of this. On the couch, Luca had finished eating. He was watching them now, his dark eyes moving between Elena and Adrian like he was trying to understand. What happens now? Elena asked. Adrian stood, his mind working through scenarios, threats, possibilities. Somewhere in his organization, a traitor was walking around, breathing his air, eating his food. Someone he trusted had sold out his only son. Now, Adrian said coldly, I find out who betrayed me, and then I make them wish they'd never been born. He looked at Luca, at the small, frightened boy who should have been growing up safe and loved. But first, he added, his voice softening just slightly, I make sure my son is never afraid again. By sunrise, the news had spread through Adrian's organization like wildfire. The boss's dead son was alive. The impossible had happened. Adrian stood in his war room, a windowless space in the heart of the mansion where he held his most important meetings. His 5 lieutenants sat around the long table, summoned at dawn with no explanation. Their faces showed varying degrees of confusion and concern. Tommy Ricci, his second-in-command, was the first to speak. Boss, what's this about? Marcus said it was urgent. Adrian remained standing, his arms crossed. He hadn't slept. Upstairs, Elena was watching over Luca, who'd finally fallen into an exhausted sleep in one of the guest rooms. My son is alive, Adrian said simply. The room went dead silent. Then everyone started talking at once. That's impossible. We buried him. Is this a joke? Quiet, Adrian said, his voice cutting through the chaos. Luca was taken 3 years ago by the Castellano family. They faked his death. They've been holding him this whole time, planning to use him as leverage when the moment was right. Frank Morrison, head of security, went pale.
Jesus Christ.
How did you find out? A woman brought him to me last night. She was involved with the kidnappers, but got him out. Adrian's eyes swept across the table. And there's more. The Castellanos had inside help. Someone in this organization fed them information. Someone helped them fake my son's death. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. David Chun, his lawyer, leaned forward. You're saying one of us is a traitor? I'm saying someone is, Adrian said coldly. And I'm going to find out who. Karen Voss, his accountant and financial strategist, spoke up. Her voice was measured, careful. Adrian, I understand you're emotional right now, but are you sure this woman is telling the truth? This could be a setup. A way to make you paranoid, turn you against your own people. The boy has the birthmark, Adrian said. Same face. Same everything. It's him. Tommy stood up, his hand over his heart. Boss, I swear on my mother's grave, I had nothing to do with this. If there's a rat, I'll help you find them. But we need to think strategically here. Meaning? Meaning word is already spreading, Tommy said grimly. I've gotten 6 calls in the last hour. Every family in Chicago is going to know by noon that your son is back. And they're going to wonder if you're strong enough to protect him. Let them wonder, Adrian said. No, Frank interjected. Tommy's right. The Castellanos aren't going to let this go. They invested 3 years in this plan. Now that the boy is back with you, they'll either demand him back or they'll try to finish what they started. Marcus finished quietly from his position by the door. They'll come for him. Hard. Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, a message from his contact in New York. His jaw tightened. The Castellanos are already moving, he said. They've called a meeting with the Delgado cartel and the Nowak family. They're building an alliance. Karen's eyes widened. 3 families? Against us? That's a war we can't win, Adrian. Then we'll die fighting, Adrian said flatly. Or, David said carefully, you could negotiate. Give them something they want in exchange for peace. Like what? David hesitated. The South Side territories. The port operations. Things you can rebuild later, once the boy is. Adrian's fist slammed on the table. I'm not giving those bastards anything. Then you're putting all of us at risk, Karen said, her voice rising. Our families. Our people. For one child. That child is my son, Adrian said, his voice deadly quiet. A son who's been gone for 3 years, Karen pressed. A son who doesn't even know you. Adrian, I'm sorry, but we have to think about the bigger picture. This organization has survived for 50 years because we make smart choices, not emotional ones. Tommy shot her a warning look. Karen, shut up. No, she said, standing. Someone needs to say it. Having the boy here makes us vulnerable. Every enemy we have is going to use him to get to Adrian. It's going to split our focus, drain our resources, and maybe get us all killed. Is one kid worth that? The room erupted. Frank and Marcus immediately jumped to Adrian's defense. David sat back, watching carefully. Tommy was shouting at Karen, calling her heartless. Adrian let them fight for a moment, watching their reactions. Karen was showing her hand, cold, calculating, putting business over loyalty. Was that enough to make her the traitor? Or was she just being practical? Enough, Adrian finally said. The room fell silent again. Karen, you're right. This is going to be a war. And if you want out, leave now. I won't stop you. Karen met his eyes, and for a moment, Adrian thought she might actually walk. But then she sat back down. I'm not leaving, she said quietly. But I needed you to understand the stakes. I understand them perfectly, Adrian said. He turned to Tommy. Double our security. Every entry point, every safe house. I want men on rotation 24/7. Done. Frank, I want background checks on everyone who had access to information about Luca's kidnapping 3 years ago. Everyone. I don't care if they've been with us for 20 years. Frank nodded grimly. I'll start today. David, prepare for legal fallout. If this goes public, the police are going to ask questions. Already on it. Adrian's phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. He answered. Mr. Cole, a smooth voice said. My name is Vincent Russo. I believe you have something that belongs to my family. Adrian's blood turned to ice. Vincent. Elena had said she killed him. Shot him twice in the chest. You're dead, Adrian said slowly. Vincent laughed. Not quite. Your little whore aimed high and to the left. Collapsed lung, broken rib, but very much alive. And very, very angry. I'm going to find you, Adrian said, his voice like razors. And I'm going to tear you apart. I'm counting on you trying, Vincent said. But here's the thing. Luca was mine for 3 years. I fed him. I housed him. I own him. And I want him back. Over my dead body. That can be arranged, Vincent said pleasantly. You have 72 hours to return the boy to us. If you don't, we're coming for him. And we're going to burn your entire empire to the ground to get him. The line went dead. Adrian looked around the room at his lieutenants, these people he'd trusted with his life, his business, his secrets. One of them had betrayed him, and now they were all going to have to fight together or die together. Change of plans, he said. We're not waiting for them to come to us. We're going on the offensive. I want every Castellano operation in this city hit. Tonight. Tommy grinned savagely. Now you're talking. But first, Adrian said, his voice softening just slightly, I need to go check on my son. Adrian found Elena sitting on the floor beside Luca's bed, her head resting against the mattress. She looked up when he entered, and immediately sensed the shift in his demeanor. What happened? She asked quietly. Vincent just called me, Adrian said, closing the door behind him. Funny thing, he sounded pretty alive for a dead man. Elena's face went white. That's impossible. I shot him. I saw him fall. You saw him fall, Adrian repeated, moving closer. But you didn't make sure he was dead, did you? You just grabbed my son and ran. Elena's voice cracked. There wasn't time. The others were coming back. I had seconds to get Luca out of there. Adrian crouched down to her eye level, his gaze hard. Or maybe you didn't really want him dead. Maybe this whole thing is a setup. You bring me my son, earn my trust, and then Vincent and his friends come in for the kill when my guard is down. No, Elena said desperately. I would never. Why should I believe you? Adrian's voice was ice. You lied about killing him. What else are you lying about? Elena's hands trembled. I didn't lie. I thought I killed him. I wanted to kill him. But you didn't, Adrian stood, pulling out his phone. Tommy's been doing some digging on you. Elena Moretti, 26 years old. Grew up in Brooklyn. Dropped out of high school. Arrested twice for petty theft, charges dropped both times. You've been with Vincent Russo for 2 years. He turned the phone to show her surveillance photos. Elena and Vincent together at a restaurant, laughing. Elena and Vincent entering a hotel. Elena and Vincent at a Castellano family gathering. You weren't just dating a kidnapper, Adrian said coldly. You were part of their world. You went to their parties. You smiled for their cameras. You were sleeping in the same house where my son was being tortured in the basement. Tears streamed down Elena's face. I didn't know. For how long? Adrian demanded. How long did you live in that house before you figured out there was a child locked downstairs? Elena's silence was damning. 6 months, she finally whispered. I lived there for 6 months before I heard him crying. Adrian felt rage boiling in his chest. 6 months. My son was suffering for half a year, and you were upstairs, playing house with his kidnapper. I didn't know. Elena's voice broke. Vincent told me it was just a safe house, that we couldn't go in the basement because he stored weapons there. I was stupid enough to believe him because I loved him. You loved him, Adrian repeated flatly. Yes, Elena said, meeting his eyes. I loved the man I thought he was. Charming. Protective. He made me feel safe for the first time in my life. And I was too blind to see what he really was until it was too late. She wiped her face roughly. One night, Vincent got drunk and passed out. I heard crying from the basement. At first, I thought it was a cat or something, but it kept going and I couldn't ignore it. So, I found the key and I went down there. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. And I found Luca, chained to a bed, filthy, terrified, crying for his mama. What did you do? Adrian asked. I ran, Elena said, shame coloring her voice. I saw him and I panicked, and I ran back upstairs. I threw up. I cried. And then I didn't go back down for 3 days because I was too much of a coward. But you did go back, Adrian said quietly. I had to, Elena said. I couldn't stop hearing him. Every night. Crying and crying. So I started bringing him food when Vincent was gone. Extra blankets. I'd talk to him, tell him stories, try to make him feel less alone. She looked at Luca, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. He started calling me Lena. Said it was easier than Elena. He'd ask me when his papa was coming to get him. And I'd lie and say soon, really soon. Why didn't you just call the police? Adrian demanded. I tried, Elena said. Vincent caught me with my phone, calling 911. He beat me so badly, I couldn't walk for a week. Told me if I ever tried again, he'd kill me and make Luca watch. Then he'd kill Luca and dump him in the river. She pulled down the collar of her jacket, revealing a thick scar across her collarbone. He gave me this. Wanted me to remember what happens when I disobey. Adrian stared at the scar, his anger warring with something else, something that felt uncomfortably like sympathy. I started planning after that, Elena continued. I knew I couldn't get help from outside, so I had to do it myself. I watched Vincent's routines, learned when he was vulnerable, stole one of his guns and hid it. And 3 days ago, I finally got my chance. And you failed, Adrian said. Yes, Elena said simply. I failed to kill the man I spent 2 years with. The man I loved. And now he's coming for me. For Luca. And probably for you too. She stood up, facing Adrian directly. You want to know if I'm trustworthy? I'm not. I lived with monsters and didn't realize it until it was almost too late. I'm a coward who ran away the first time I saw your son suffering. I'm a terrible shot who couldn't even kill one man to keep a child safe. Her voice hardened. But I'm also the only reason Luca is standing in this room instead of chained in that basement. So believe what you want about me, Mr. Cole. Hate me. Use me. Kill me when this is over. I don't care. But without me, your son would still be in chains. Adrian studied her for a long moment. Everything she'd said could be a lie. She could be playing him, earning his trust with a sob story and strategic tears. Vincent could have sent her here as a Trojan horse. But the scar on her collarbone was real. The fear in her eyes when she talked about Vincent was real. And most importantly, Luca's trust in her was real. On the bed, the boy stirred. His eyes opened, immediately searching for Elena. When he saw her, he relaxed. "Lena," he murmured. "Don't leave." "I'm right here, sweetheart," she said softly, sitting back down beside him. Luca's eyes found Adrian, and the fear returned. "Who's that?" Elena hesitated, then took a breath. "That's your papa, Luca. Remember how I told you we were going to find him?"
We did.
"You're home now." Luca stared at Adrian with wide, uncertain eyes. "Papa?" Adrian felt his heart crack open. He knelt down, keeping his distance, so he wouldn't scare the boy. "Yeah," he said, his voice rough. "Yeah, buddy. It's me." Luca looked at Elena, as if asking permission. She nodded encouragingly. "You're really my papa?" the boy asked. "I really am. Are you going to take me away from Lena?" Adrian glanced at Elena, this woman who'd lived with his son's kidnappers, who'd failed to save him for months, who'd lied about killing Vincent. This woman who was probably going to get them all killed. This woman his son loved. "No," Adrian said quietly. "She stays with you. I promise." Elena's eyes filled with tears again, but this time, there was something like gratitude in them. "Thank you," she whispered. Adrian stood, heading for the door. "Frank is posting guards outside. No one gets in or out without my permission. We'll talk more later." "Adrian," Elena called after him. He turned back. "Vincent will come for me," she said quietly. "He won't stop until I'm dead. So, whatever you're planning, do it fast. Because we're running out of time." Adrian couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m, he found himself standing in the doorway of Luca's room, watching his son breathe. In and out, steady,
Alive.
For 3 years, Adrian had imagined this moment, having his son back, holding him, never letting go. But the reality was nothing like he'd pictured. Luca didn't know him. Worse, Luca was afraid of him. Elena was curled up in the armchair beside the bed, asleep with her hand resting near Luca's. Even in sleep, the boy's fingers were wrapped around hers, holding on like she was his anchor to the world. It stung. God, it stung more than Adrian wanted to admit. His son had a mother figure, just not the one Adrian had chosen. Not his wife, who died bringing Luca into the world. Not anyone Adrian had trusted to care for him. A woman who'd lived with kidnappers, who'd failed to act for months, who'd loved the man who'd tortured his child. And yet, watching them now, Adrian couldn't deny the truth. Elena had saved Luca in ways that went beyond the physical rescue. She'd been his comfort in hell, his only kindness in a world of cruelty. Adrian backed away quietly, returning to his study. He poured another drink, but didn't touch it. Instead, he pulled out an old photo album from his desk, something he hadn't looked at in 2 years because it hurt too much. Pictures of his wife, Maria, pregnant and glowing. Pictures of baby Luca, hours old, screaming in Adrian's arms. Pictures of first baths, first smiles, first everything. The last photo was taken the day before Luca was taken. 6 months old, grabbing at Adrian's nose with chubby fingers, his mouth open in a toothless laugh. That child was gone. The boy upstairs was a stranger who'd lived through things Adrian couldn't even imagine. How did you rebuild something that had been so thoroughly destroyed? The next morning, Adrian found Luca in the mansion's kitchen with Elena. The boy was sitting at the counter, eating pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. When Adrian entered, Luca immediately tensed. "Morning," Adrian said carefully, keeping his voice soft. "How'd you sleep?" Luca looked at Elena, who gave him an encouraging nod. "Okay," the boy whispered. Adrian noticed his son was wearing new clothes, sweatpants, and a t-shirt that actually fit. Someone, probably Elena, had taken him shopping from the mansion's storage of various sizes kept for emergencies. "Those pancakes look good," Adrian said, moving slowly to the coffee maker. "You like dinosaurs?" Luca nodded slightly. "Me too," Adrian said. "When I was your age, My favorite was the T-Rex. For the first time, something flickered in Luca's eyes. Mine is the Brontosaurus. The long-neck one? Adrian smiled. That's a good choice. They were the gentle giants. Luca took another bite of pancakes, still watching Adrian warily. But he didn't look away this time. It was progress. Tiny, fragile progress. Over the next 2 days, Adrian made it his mission to be present without being overwhelming. He'd sit in the same room as Luca, reading or working, just letting the boy get used to his presence. He'd ask simple questions about favorite colors, favorite foods, whether Luca liked dogs or cats better. Luca's answers were short, hesitant, but they came more easily each time. Elena watched these interactions carefully, sometimes stepping in when Luca got too nervous, sometimes stepping back to let them have space. On the 3rd day, Adrian found Luca standing in the hallway, looking at a portrait of Maria. "Who's that?" the boy asked softly. Adrian knelt beside him. "That's your mama. Her name was Maria." Luca studied the painting with wide eyes. "She's pretty." "She was beautiful," Adrian said, his throat tight. "And she loved you more than anything in the world. She died bringing you into it, but if she'd had the choice, she'd do it again in a heartbeat." "Elena told me my mama was in heaven," Luca said, watching over me. "Elena's right." Luca was quiet for a moment. Then, in a small voice, "Do you think she's mad at me?" Adrian's heart shattered. "Mad? Why would she be mad?" "Because I couldn't remember her," Luca whispered, his eyes filling with tears. "I tried and tried, but I can't remember her face. I can't remember anything before the bad place." Adrian pulled his son into his arms before he could think better of it. For a moment, Luca went rigid. Then, slowly, he relaxed. "She's not mad," Adrian said fiercely. "You were just a baby when she died. And what happened to you? None of that was your fault. Your mama isn't mad. She's proud of you for being so brave." Luca's small body shook with sobs. "I was scared. I was scared all the time. I know you were, but you're safe now. I promise." "The bad men said you didn't want me anymore," Luca hiccuped. "They said that's why you didn't come find me." Adrian's vision blurred. "That was a lie. I looked for you every single day. I never stopped wanting you. Never." "Really? Really?" Adrian pulled back just enough to look his son in the eyes. "You're my boy. You always have been. And I'm never going to let anyone hurt you again." Luca stared at him for a long moment. Then, so quietly Adrian almost missed it. "Papa?" "Yeah, buddy? Can you stay with me tonight? When I sleep, I have bad dreams." Adrian's chest felt like it was breaking and healing at the same time. "Of course. I'll stay as long as you want. Promise." "I promise." That night, Adrian sat beside Luca's bed as the boy drifted off to sleep. Elena had moved to the couch across the room, giving them space but staying close in case Luca needed her. "Papa." Luca's voice was drowsy. "I'm right here. Tomorrow, can we have dinosaur pancakes again?" Adrian smiled in the darkness.
Yeah.
"We can have them every day if you want."
Okay, Luca yawned.
"I think I'm going to like living here." "I think so too." Within minutes, Luca was asleep, his breathing soft and steady. Adrian stayed in the chair, watching his son the way he'd done when Luca was a baby, memorizing every feature, every breath, terrified that if he looked away, the boy might disappear again. Elena's voice came from across the room. "He's starting to trust you." "Thanks to you," Adrian said quietly.
No.
"Thanks to you," Elena stood, moving to the doorway. "You're being patient, gentle. That's what he needs." She paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I think Maria would be proud of you too." When she was gone, Adrian finally let himself cry. Silent tears that he'd held back for 3 years, tears for everything he'd lost and everything he'd miraculously been given back. His son was alive. His son had called him Papa, not in fear, but in trust. For the first time since Maria died, Adrian Cole felt like a human being again instead of a monster. But in the back of his mind, Vincent's voice echoed, 72 hours. The deadline was tomorrow, and Adrian knew that the fragile peace of this moment was about to be shattered. The explosion shook the mansion at 4 a.m. Adrian was instantly awake, gun in hand, racing down the hallway. Frank's voice crackled over the security radio. East Wing Storage Facility. Car bomb. No casualties, but the message is clear. By the time Adrian reached the security room, footage was already playing on the monitors. A black SUV had driven up to one of his warehouses, and seconds later, the entire building went up in flames. Millions of dollars in inventory gone. That's the third hit tonight, Tommy said grimly, pointing to other screens. They torched the gambling house on Franklin Street, shot up the truck depot on 5th. They're not trying to kill anyone. They're making a point. They're showing me they can reach anywhere, Adrian said. Marcus burst in, holding a tablet. Boss, you need to see this. He pressed play. Vincent Russo's face filled the screen, bruised, bandaged, but very much alive. He was sitting in what looked like a warehouse, surrounded by armed men. Hello, Adrian, Vincent said, his smile cold. Enjoying your reunion? I hope so, because it's about to end. He gestured to someone off-screen. Two men dragged a beaten, bloodied figure into frame. Adrian recognized him immediately. Eddie Santos, one of his street-level dealers. You've been hitting our operations, Vincent continued. So, we decided to return the favor. But unlike you, we're not interested in property damage. He pulled out a gun and shot Eddie in the head without hesitation. The body crumpled. That's 10 of your men dead in the last 12 hours, Vincent said casually. And we're just getting started. Unless, of course, you give me what I want. He leaned closer to the camera. Luca belongs to me, Adrian. I raised him. I fed him. I taught him to fear. And Elena, his voice turned venomous, that traitorous bitch belongs to me too. She killed my brother. Did she tell you that? The man she shot wasn't me. It was Tony, my younger brother. He was watching the kid while I was out. Adrian's blood went cold. Elena panicked when Tony caught her trying to sneak Luca out, Vincent continued. She shot him twice, grabbed the boy, and ran. She's a murderer, Adrian. And she's been lying to you from the start. Vincent's smile widened. But here's my generous offer. Give me the boy and Elena by midnight tonight, and I'll let you live. Keep them, and I burn Chicago to the ground. Every business you own. Every man who works for you. Everyone you've ever cared about. Starting with that nice mansion you're sitting in right now. The screen went black. The room erupted in chaos. Adrian stood frozen, his mind racing. Elena had shot Vincent's brother, not Vincent. She'd killed someone else and let Adrian believe it was the man who'd tortured his son. We need to move the boy, Frank said immediately. Get him to a safe house. This location is compromised. We need to move Elena too, Tommy added. Straight into a grave. She's gotten 10 of our men killed because Vincent wants revenge on her. Adrian's phone buzzed. Another message from an unknown number, a live video feed. He opened it and felt his stomach drop. The camera showed the street outside his mansion. Dozens of cars were parked in the shadows, armed men waiting in the darkness. They were already here. Adrian ran to Luca's room. Elena was awake, holding the boy, who was whimpering in fear from the explosions. We need to leave, Adrian said.
Now.
What's happening? Elena's face was pale. Vincent sent a message. He wants Luca and you by midnight, or he's going to kill everyone I care about. And he's already got men surrounding the house. Elena's eyes widened in terror. Oh God.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't think. You shot his brother, Adrian said coldly. Not Vincent. His brother Tony.
Elena's face crumbled.
I didn't know. I swear, I thought it was Vincent. It was dark, and he looked just like him, and It doesn't matter. Adrian cut her off. What matters is Vincent wants you dead, and he's willing to burn my entire city to make it happen. Tommy appeared in the doorway. Boss, we've got maybe 20 minutes before they breach the perimeter. We need to make a choice. What choice? Adrian demanded. Tommy glanced at Elena, then back at Adrian. Give her to them. She's what Vincent really wants. Hand her over with a counteroffer. She's theirs, but the boy stays. They might take the deal. No, Adrian said immediately. Adrian, think strategically, Tommy pressed. She's not family. She's not one of us. She's a liability who's gotten our men killed. Why are we protecting her? Because Luca needs her, Adrian said. Luca will adjust, Tommy argued. Kids are resilient. But if we keep her, more of our people die. Is one woman worth that? Elena stood, her voice shaking. He's right, Adrian. Give me to Vincent. Let him have his revenge. Just promise me you'll keep Luca safe. Lena, no. Luca cried, clutching her shirt. It's okay, sweetheart, Elena said, tears streaming down her face. Your papa will take care of you. I don't want papa, I want you.
Luca sobbed.
The words hit Adrian like a bullet. His son, his own son, still chose her over him. Frank's voice crackled over the radio. Boss, they're moving in. East and west entrances. We have maybe 10 minutes. Karen's voice joined the channel. Adrian, I've been running the numbers. If we go to war with the Castellanos, we lose everything. Our allies are already pulling back. No one wants to support us in a fight we can't win. Be smart. Give them what they want. Adrian looked at Elena, this woman who'd lied, who'd killed the wrong man, who'd brought Vincent's wrath down on them all. Then he looked at his son, clinging to her like she was the only thing keeping him from drowning. Tommy, Adrian said quietly, get the cars ready. All of them. We're punching through their lines. Boss. Elena stays with us, Adrian said firmly. I don't care if Vincent wants her. I don't care if it costs me everything. She stays. Why? Tommy demanded. Why are you willing to throw everything away for her? Adrian looked at Luca, who was watching him with wide, tearful eyes. Because she's family now, Adrian said simply. And I don't abandon family. Not ever again. He picked up his phone and dialed Vincent's number. When the kidnapper answered, Adrian's voice was ice. You want a war? You've got one. Come for my son. Come for Elena. Come for me. But understand this. I'm not giving you anything. And before this is over, I'm going to make you wish you died the day Elena pulled that trigger. He hung up and turned to his team. Get Luca and Elena to the armored car. Everyone else, prepare for combat. Tonight, we end this. The convoy of 3 armored cars tore through the mansion gates at 4:45 a.m., and Adrian was in the lead vehicle with Luca and Elena, while Tommy and Frank commanded the others. Gunfire erupted immediately. Vincent's men opened up from both sides of the street. Stay down, Adrian shouted, pushing Luca and Elena to the floor as bullets hammered against the reinforced windows. Marcus drove like a demon, swerving through the attack. They were almost clear when the middle car, Frank's car, exploded in a fireball. Frank, Tommy's voice screamed over the radio. Keep moving, Adrian ordered, his heart pounding. Frank had been with him for 12 years. Gone in an instant. They broke through the ambush and sped toward the safe house on the north side. Adrian's phone rang. Karen. Adrian, thank God, she said breathlessly. I'm at the backup location. Bring Luca here. I've got extra security ready. Something in her voice made Adrian pause. Too smooth. Too prepared. Karen, what's the address again? Adrian asked carefully. 1847, Industrial Boulevard. The old factory. You know it. Adrian did know it. He also knew that building had been sold 6 months ago. To a Castellano shell company. We'll be there in 10 minutes, Adrian lied, then hung up. Tommy, he said into the radio. Karen's the traitor. She just tried to send us into a trap. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, Jesus Christ. I'll send men to pick her up. No, Adrian said coldly. Let her think I'm coming. I want her to lead us to Vincent. They diverted to a different safe house, Tommy's personal apartment that only 3 people knew about. Inside, Adrian set Luca up in the bedroom with Elena. Don't open this door for anyone but me, Adrian said. Elena grabbed his arm. Where are you going? To end this, he looked at Luca, who was pale and shaking. I'm coming back. I promise.
Papa, Luca whispered.
Be careful. Adrian knelt down and hugged his son tight. I love you, buddy. Stay with Elena. Adrian and Tommy hit 4 Castellano locations in 2 hours. Brutal, efficient raids that left bodies in their wake. At each site, Adrian demanded one thing. Where is Vincent Russo? The 5th location, a warehouse in the meatpacking district, finally gave them an answer. A wounded Castellano soldier gasped it out. The factory. Industrial Boulevard. He's waiting for you there. The same location Karen had tried to send them to. Adrian and his remaining men surrounded the building. Through the windows, they could see movement inside. Adrian's phone buzzed, a video message from Vincent. The screen showed Luca, bound to a chair, tears streaming down his face. Karen stood beside him. Adrian's blood turned to ice.
No.
No, they couldn't have. Hello, Adrian. Karen's voice came through the speakers. She looked calm, almost bored. I'm sorry it came to this. But you forced my hand when you chose sentiment over business. You took my son, Adrian said, his voice shaking with rage. You took him again? Actually, I took him the first time too, Karen said. 3 years ago. I gave the Castellanos your security schedules, your son's location, everything. You were getting too powerful, Adrian. The other families were scared. They needed leverage. I gave it to them. I trusted you, Adrian whispered. And that was your weakness. Karen's expression didn't change. Vincent, he's here. The camera panned to show Vincent stepping into frame. He looked at Luca with cold satisfaction. Come inside, Adrian, Vincent called. Alone. Or I put a bullet in the boy's head right now. Adrian looked at Tommy, who shook his head. It's suicide. I know, Adrian said, handing Tommy his phone. If I'm not out in 10 minutes, storm the building. But I'm getting my son back. He walked through the front door, hands raised. 20 guns immediately pointed at him. Good, Vincent said, smiling. Now, where's Elena? Safe, Adrian said. Somewhere you'll never find her. Vincent's smile vanished. Then the boy dies. Wait, Elena's voice rang out. Adrian's heart stopped. She emerged from the shadows behind the Castellano soldiers. She'd followed them. She must have slipped out of the safe house and tracked them here. I'm here, Elena said, walking toward Vincent. Let Luca go. You can have me. Vincent's eyes lit up with cruel pleasure.
Anna.
My sweet, traitorous Elena. I've been dreaming about what I'd do to you. I know, Elena said softly, stepping closer. You're going to make me suffer. Make me pay for Tony's death. I understand. Oh, you have no idea, Vincent breathed. He reached out and grabbed her throat, pulling her close. You'll beg me to kill you before I'm done. Elena's eyes met Adrian's across the room. And in that moment he understood. She was stalling, buying time. Vincent, Elena whispered, her hand resting on his chest. Before you do this, I need to know, is Luca really at the docks like Karen said? Is that where you were going to take him after? Vincent laughed. Nice try. The kid's staying right here until... Actually, Karen interrupted, we are moving him to the docks. Pier 17. Once Adrian's dead, we transport the boy to New York and... Shut up. Vincent snapped. But it was too late. Elena had gotten what she needed. Now, she screamed. The windows exploded as Tommy and Adrian's men burst through. Gunfire erupted. Adrian dove for Luca, cutting his bonds as bullets flew overhead. Karen ran for the back exit, but Tommy was faster. He put 2 bullets in her back. Vincent had Elena by the throat, a gun pressed to her head. Nobody moves or she dies. Vincent, Adrian shouted. It's over. You're surrounded. I don't care. Vincent's eyes were wild. She killed Tony. She deserves to die. Elena's hand moved lightning fast, grabbing a knife from her jacket and plunging it into Vincent's side. he screamed, his grip loosening just enough for her to twist away. Adrian fired twice. Vincent fell. The warehouse went silent except for ringing ears and ragged breathing. Adrian scooped Luca into his arms, checking him for injuries. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I'm okay, Papa," Luca sobbed, clinging to him. "I was so scared." I know. But it's over now." Elena stumbled toward them, blood on her hands from Vincent's knife wound. "Is he?"
He's fine, Adrian said.
He looked at her. This woman who'd risked everything, who'd tricked Vincent into revealing his plans, who'd fought beside them despite having every reason to run.
Thank you, he said simply.
Elena collapsed to her knees, exhausted. "Is Vincent?" Tommy checked the body.
"He's dead."
"For real this time?" Adrian looked at Karen's corpse, rage and betrayal warring in his chest. 12 years she'd worked for him. 12 years of lies. But it was over. The traitor was gone. Vincent was gone. His son was safe. "Let's go home," Adrian said, carrying Luca toward the exit. 3 days later, the mansion was filled with people. Adrian stood in the grand hall, the same room where he'd held 1,000 meetings about territory, money, and power. But today was different. Today, every lieutenant, every captain, every soldier in his organization had been summoned for a different kind of gathering. Beside him stood Luca, wearing a small suit that made him look impossibly young. The boy's hand was wrapped tightly in Adrian's, no longer trembling with fear. On Adrian's other side stood Elena, cleaned up and dressed in simple black, looking uncomfortable with all the eyes on her. Tommy stepped forward first, his voice carrying across the silent room. "We've lost good people. Frank Morrison, Eddie Santos, 12 others who died protecting this family. Karen Voss betrayed us, and for that crime, she paid with her life. The Castellano operation in Chicago has been dismantled. Vincent Russo is dead." A murmur rippled through the crowd, some approving, some uncertain. Adrian raised his hand, and the room fell silent. "For 3 years, I lived as half a man," he began, his voice steady. "I thought my son was dead. I thought I'd never see him again. I became someone who cared about nothing except power and revenge. I forgot what it meant to be human." He looked down at Luca, who gazed up at him with trust that still made Adrian's chest ache. "And then this woman," Adrian gestured to Elena, "brought my son back to me. She risked her life. She killed to protect him. She ran from monsters who wanted her dead. Not because she owed me anything. Not because I paid her. But because she couldn't stand to see a child suffer." Elena's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Some of you told me she was a liability," Adrian continued, his gaze sweeping across the room. "That keeping her here would make us weak. That she wasn't worth protecting," his voice hardened. "You were wrong." He placed his hand on Elena's shoulder. "This woman is braver than half the soldiers in this room. She's smarter than most of my advisors. And more importantly, she's the reason my son is alive and standing here today." Adrian's voice rang out clear and strong. "The woman who brought my blood back to me is my blood now." Gasps echoed through the hall. Tommy smiled. He'd known this was coming. The others looked shocked, confused, some even angry. "Elena Moretti is under my protection," Adrian declared. "Permanently. Anyone who threatens her, threatens me. Anyone who harms her, answers to me. She is family. And in this organization, we protect family above everything else." He turned to Elena, pulling out an official document. "I'm making you Luca's legal guardian. Co-parent with full authority. If anything happens to me, he's yours. You'll have access to everything he needs: money, security, education. Whatever it takes to keep him safe." Elena's composure finally broke. "Adrian, I don't need." "I know you don't need it," Adrian said gently. "But you've earned it. You've earned everything." He looked at his son. "Luca, what do you think? Is it okay if Elena stays with us? Forever?" Luca's face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. "Really? She can stay. If she wants to," Adrian said. Luca threw his arms around Elena's waist. Please stay, Lena.
Please.
I don't want you to go. Elena knelt down, hugging him tight. I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart. I promise. Adrian addressed the room again. We've been building this empire on fear for too long. On violence and intimidation. And yes, those things have their place. But they're not enough.
Karen proved that.
She had no loyalty because we gave her no reason to be loyal except money. He gestured to his son. From now on, this organization protects what matters. Family. Each other. We don't just work together. We stand together. Anyone who can't accept that can leave now. No one moved. Good, Adrian said. Then let's get back to work. We have a city to rebuild. As the crowd dispersed, Tommy approached. That was quite a speech, boss. It's the truth, Adrian said simply. Karen betrayed us because she saw this as just business. I'm done with that. We're family now or we're nothing. Tommy extended his hand to Elena. Welcome to the family. Officially. Elena shook it, still looking overwhelmed. Thank you. For everything. Thank the boss, Tommy said. He's the one who refused to give you up when it would have been easier. That night, Adrian found Elena sitting in the garden while Luca slept peacefully upstairs. She looked up as he approached. Can't sleep, he asked. Too much to process, Elena admitted. A week ago, I was nobody. Now I'm this. You were never nobody, Adrian said, sitting beside her. You saved my son. That makes you everything. Elena was quiet for a moment. Do you really trust me? After everything I did, or didn't do? I trust you with the most important thing in my life, Adrian said, looking up at the window where Lucas slept. That's all the answer you need. He calls you Papa now without hesitation, Elena observed. You've earned that.
We both have, Adrian said.
He needs us both.
You taught me that.
Elena smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her. We're a strange family, aren't we? The best ones usually are. Upstairs, Lucas stirred in his sleep, then settled again, safe and protected. For the first time in 3 years, Adrian Cole's mansion felt like a home instead of a fortress. The empire stood united, not built on fear alone, but on something stronger. Something Vincent and Karen and all his enemies had never understood.
Family.
And this time, Adrian would never let it be broken again.